Bitcoin has its fair share of cheerleaders, but few are as consistent as Tim Draper. An eternal optimist when it comes to the practical use for and eventual price of Bitcoin, Tim is one of those guys you want on your team. At Virtual Blockchain Week, we had the opportunity to do a one-on-one with Tim, and he was incredibly generous with his answers and his time. He is here to pump you up. A new documentary about crypto is hitting cable TV this weekend, and Binance is asking people to nominate their favorite influencers for an award. I'm not sure if we qualify because there might not be a bad influencer award. So hop on the bad train for episode number 422 of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
All aboard! The Bad Crypto train is leaving the station. Woo, 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 woo. How are you, Mr. Travis Wright?
Man, never better. Just unbelievable in every way. Just spectacular, sensational, super sexy.
Good bowel movements, you know.
Completely clean. Everyone is perfectly tapered.
Oh my, yeah, I can't see us qualifying for any influencer award with this type of stellar content, but welcome to the Bad Crypto Podcast. That's Travis Wright. I'm Joel Comm. We are the Crypto Clowns, the Blockchain Blockheads, the DeFi DoFi here for you.
Heard in over 190 countries at least once.
I thought you were going to say in 190 households.
That's maybe more accurate.
I got a really, really great interview. I think out of all the interviews we did at Virtual Blockchain Week 2020, this one with Tim Draper was just so great. He really is so generous with his content and his time. You know, we had somebody who I guess got ill, couldn't show up, and he stuck around an extra 20 minutes for Q&A. And it's really nice. So we're going to get to that shortly.
That is good. Did I just make a perfectly tapered joke with an interview with Tim Draper?
Yeah.
Same episode. That's great. Good job.
Taper Draper. Meant to do that.
I did not meant to do that, actually.
And as that the laughter tapers off, let's talk about our sponsor, eToro. If you haven't downloaded the app by now, why not? Badco.in/eToro. We're chucking Bitcoin at you. You don't even have to duck because when Bitcoin hits you, it's not like it can hurt you at all. It just ends up in your wallet. All you got to do is open up an account if you're a U.S. citizen using the eToro app and go through our link, fund that account with $50 and then buy some Bitcoin or any of the other 14 popular coins they have on their service. Send us the information as you'll find on the page here as requested, and we'll send you $50 in Bitcoin. Lots and lots of people have done it. Have you? Badco.in/eToro, eToro.
T-O-R-O.
So Travis, Binance has a thing right now that they are asking people to nominate influencers for the first ever Binance Influencer Awards.
Yeah. And it's actually doing it between the 25th of June through the 30th of June. The 30th of June is tomorrow.
Right.
So like while you're listening to this, like if you want to nominate somebody from from the bad show that you listen to right now would be a great time to do it because you can
one day.
We have one day to do it.
That's it. One day to do it. So if you'll go to badco.in/influencer, if you are so moved as the show tapers off, if you decide that you want to go nominate somebody, anybody, Charlie Shrem, Peter McCormick, whatever, badco.in/influencer will take you to the form. Don't wait. They're going to be announcing the winners during the Binance Turns 3 off the charts virtual conference. And this virtual conference is going to take place on July 14th.
Very nice. So I think at least if one person nominates us, then they have a voting period. So there's going to be a voting period on the site that it looks like as well, that you can then, if somebody did nominate us, which that may or may not have happened, but then you can go there and actually vote. So if that does happen and it is past the 30th, you should still be able to go there to the link in the show and go vote.
The prize for winning the award is nothing.
That's right.
Maybe a personal phone call from CZ.
Yeah. You do need to have your email address from your Binance account to be able to do that.
A new documentary coming your way, courtesy of the folks at Dragon Chain. It's going to be a fascinating story, and we'll tell you more about that after our interview with Mr. Timothy Draper. Hey, Tim, how you doing?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
And I dressed just like you today. Oh, no, that's not true.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. It's very interesting. I wanted to stay sane through this whole thing. Well, people would argue that I've never been sane, but anyway, I wanted to stay kind of balanced. And so what I do is I do exactly what I do normally. I dress up and I kiss my wife goodbye, and then I go to my home office and I close the door and I do all of these calls, and then I walk out the door and I say, "Honey, I'm home." So that's the way we've been operating, and it's actually, it works okay. I feel like Zoom and Skype and all of these services have really blossomed during this time, and it's interesting. You get a time like this when there's a tectonic shift in the world, and people start getting creative. They start trying new things, and technologies that entrepreneurs have been pounding for years and only got to the early adopters are now crossing the chasm. So people, like the guys who are involved in Bitcoin wallets, they're expanding like crazy during this time. The people who are doing VR games and entertainment, they're exploding right now. People are at home looking around for something interesting to do, and there are these new options for them and new possibilities. And I think that has that's the positive that's happened from all this.
Right.
That there are actually consumers that are trying to try new things. That's the positive. The negatives are obvious. There are some very difficult choices everybody's had to make. The politicians have erred on the side of, locking us down and putting muzzles on our mouths and whatever else. And I understand that when hospitals can't take the patients. However, now it's time to get back to work. All the lines are flattening. It's time to get back to work, and it's time to take off the muzzle and go. This is a really critical time. If they do some, like, hey, we got to stay spaced apart and put a mask on, nobody's going to go into a restaurant. Nobody's going to get on an airplane. No, they're just not going to want to. And so those industries are going to have a really difficult time if we don't all just, they're already having a difficult time. Mm-hmm. But if we don't get back to work soon, we got a real problem. I wonder if, after 2 weeks, this may have been a major policy mistake to keep us all locked down. First of all, 26 million Americans are unemployed now. That was not the case a month ago. It was maybe more like 4.
Which is still a huge number.
Huge number. Economic activity drives prosperity, right? Humans evolve and prosper, and then that extends people's lives. So what we've done by cutting off all that economic prosperity is we are contracting people's lives. And the healthcare industry is in a difficult shape now. Every travel industry is in tough shape. The hotel business, they're all in tough shape, and we don't get our herd immunity, so that the next time a virus comes, we may not be as prepared for it as this time. And there may be more deaths because the viruses evolve. They mutate, they keep coming. But if we aren't evolving and continuing to fight them off, we might be in a really difficult position. So I would argue it's time to open back up. Let's get to work. Let's all go, spread our herd immunity and get going, because 26 million Americans unemployed is not sustainable. It's pushing us toward in effect, a culture of need instead of one of opportunity, and it's pushing us toward away from being land of the free, home of the brave, and toward this socialist, almost fascist organization telling us what we have to do, where we have to be, and when.
We're getting permissions, it seems like, instead of the existing rights we have. We're like, oh, we'll give you, we will, you have permissions right now to do things, and some things you can't do and some things you can't. I want to ask a question around the timeline of cryptocurrency now, because now it seems like, when we were thinking about how long until paper money goes away and cryptocurrency sort of just hits the mainstream, we've had these conversations for a long time. And now we're at a point where if somebody gives me some paper money back, I'm like, ugh, there's germs on this thing. Like how much have we sort of just pushed that timeline towards digital currency becoming mainstream as a result of this craziness?
All I'm thinking is that it's not that there's germs on it, but it is this $100 is decreasing in value because they're printing so much of it. So I'm thinking, wait, God, hold on to my Bitcoin, maybe buy some more, because it's at least an honest currency. It is 21 million. We know how many are out there. It's global, open, transparent. We all know how great it is. The dollar is clearly easily manipulated by political forces. And I've been saying this for a while. I had no idea that all of a sudden they were going to print $2 trillion of them and make it so that what does that do? That in effect makes $1 with 90 cents. And if they go for the next one, $6 trillion, it's going to be like 25% devalued against where it is today. This is a perfect time. And Bitcoin wallets are spreading like crazy now because people are kind of going, whoa, really? They're printing all these trillions of dollars? And then that money, if I were to do this, I would have said, we're going to give everybody a tax holiday and we're going to extend everybody's credit. And we'll extend that credit, and you're responsible for 90% of it or something. So people can keep working and keep operating and living and spending and doing what they have to do in a time like this. And with a tax holiday, people can keep investing and putting money to work and trying to make something happen. Well, instead, $2 trillion goes into the big bureaucracy, and it's stuck there for favoritism, for like who writes fills out the form the best, or who operates under the exact rules that they need. They created so many rules around it. We have to have lawyers determining what we say to the government so that we can get those loans into the small businesses. This has got to be the worst nightmare that has ever happened to the world economy. And I think it's time to just get back to work.
Is it intentional? Do you think some of that stuff is calculated, knowing that the bubble is about to burst? Like, there's been people talking about this for such a long time. Oh, the dollar it's out of control. The economy's gonna bust. Like, we've been hearing so many people talk about this. The Everything Bubble was just such an amazing book. I read it a couple of years ago, talking about things are gonna collapse, and like it just almost seems like things just got pushed over the edge somehow.
I think it was one of those things where people kind of needed a break. I think, like, hey, let's take a break, or let's because it was going, and it was sort of overheating. Everything felt like it was overheating. And so the virus was this big opportunity for people to say, okay, this is it. But hey, the stock market hasn't even been affected. Now, it will, but it hasn't even been affected to date. It seems to be going like this: earnings down here, stock market like this. It doesn't make sense to me. It's this weird thing. They're talking about a V. There are going to be a few industries where a V works, but the rest of the world, the rest of the industries are going on a deep L, and we're going to have a lot of trouble in getting those 26 million people back to work. Going to be very, very difficult. It's going to take some time. It's going to take startups. It's going to take a concerted effort by venture capitalists. It's going to take, because big companies don't create net new jobs. It's all in small businesses. So we need to create more net new jobs. Now, the good thing is that people are creative. They're going to come up with interesting ways to operate and ways to work. I do think that the government has to get the gig economy back on its feet. They can't keep saying you got to have this regulation and this regulation. People need to be able to go out there, do a gig, whatever it is, get some money, get that going, and start to build their career back. It's gone on way too long. And by the way, sure, look, if the numbers were millions and millions of people were dying, I understand this would be really tragic. It's tragic in the other sense because this has operated as globally. Now in New York City, something really weird and unique happened there, but across the US, this is about an average flu, and globally it's below average as a flu.
Well, so those numbers sure seem like when you go, oh my God, 50,000 people. Like, well, wait a second though. Like, there's been some times where like 120,000 people have died of the flu in America, and like it's like, so it's all perspective.
Not only that, Travis, but the numbers of reported deaths from flu and pneumonia are suspiciously way lower now. Our mortality rate for the year is actually down.
And they're slanting some of the data. Oh, hey, here's another one. Could have been a virus, It
seems like there's incentives. If you have a COVID thing, then the hospital gets paid a little extra.
Oh, is that true? Maybe.
Well, they
I
have to
am
make
very
room for those
concerned.
beds.
I am very concerned about what we've done so far. Big political error. And how do they unravel it? How do they face the fact that, hey, this was just a weird flu? And how do they get us all back to work without forcing everybody with social distancing and the mask and the whole thing? This is really a dangerous time.
Well, you said in the beginning that Bitcoin, there's 21 million ever, and we have an event coming up here on this Bitcoin clock. The block halving is supposed to happen on May 11th, and there's been all kinds of predictions, of what the price of Bitcoin would be. Of course, you're one of the ones before all this happened, had some pretty high expectations for the price of Bitcoin. What do you think this halving is going to do now?
Well, my prediction was 250,000 by 2022 or first quarter of 2023. That's my prediction. Sticking with it. I'm very confident that is going to happen. The halvening, it's kind of a fun name, halvening.
Or if it doesn't happen, you'll eat a raw egg, right? Or something like that.
Sure, why not? I hit the 10,000 number right on the date, so I'm guessing that the spirits are with me. We'll see. But the halvening in history, the halvening has started to wake people up, and they go, oh, it's harder to get this stuff, and I need it, so I'm gonna get it, and now I have to buy it, and it goes up. That doesn't happen for there's a 6-month lag. So the day of the halvening, I wouldn't expect too much of a change. Maybe people are anticipating it, so they'll buy it. But I think the during the 6 months after that, I expect a real growth in the price of Bitcoin. So I think that I'm a true believer that we're at a time when people are starting to really doubt fiat currencies. We're at a time when people are a little concerned. It's interesting. It's kind of an undercurrent where the government and the press are all saying, this is the way it is, and go wear your mask and go do your whatever. And there's this undercurrent going, what they're doing may not be right. And then, hey, we're printing $2 trillion, so everybody's going to be fine. And the rest of us are kind of going, what? Wait, $2 trillion? That's going to dilute the value of the dollar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's mine, my custom mask.
Hey, it's good looking. Is that pizza?
It's pizza.
Making me hungry.
Man,
if you're gonna do a mask, you may as well do something fun.
I figure you put Bitcoin
Yeah,
on.
my daughter runs a design shop called Lemon L, and she makes scrunchies and does them in these beautiful designs. And now she's designed some beautiful masks. So at least we'll look beautiful.
That's good. I want to ask you this. So you've written some amazing books, and you've invested in so many great startups. You've had your finger on the pulse firmly for a long time, and you've seen where things are going before a lot of people have. So I would ask you this, like, say you were able to consult with the government in some way, the leadership of America, of what are some of the things that we need to be doing, and how can startups, what can startups be thinking about, and what are some advice that you would give as we hopefully turn this economical engine back on?
Well, it's interesting because banks aren't lending to small businesses at all. And certainly not retail businesses right now. They would never do that. So that's kind of that's going to be a difficult situation. Venture capitalists are shoring up a lot of their existing companies, knowing that they're in for a long haul here, and not sure that cash is going to be around for them. And the government programs are a little bit antiquated, and they are going to. There was an SBIC program that I got started with. I borrowed money from the SBIC program, the SBA, Small Business Investment Company. And it got me started in the business, and it was a very efficient and very effective business program. Now it's much more complicated. I need lawyers to help me organize and do it. And the leverage isn't as good. I think if you're the government, you do one of two things. One is give people a tax holiday. The other is potentially guarantee loans for small business. And I think I'd look at it that way, rather than more government programs, more money going into the government so that they can kind of create more friction to get it out to people. We need it now. We got 26 million people unemployed. They need money now. They need credit now. They need to get back into business now. And I think going through the big bureaucracy is not going to help us. And it becomes more of a socialist government, a government of need rather than of opportunity. Everybody then goes to the government for their money instead of going out to the private sector. And
it kind of goes against the rugged individualism that this country was built on, doesn't it?
Right. I mean, we want all those creative people who are now unemployed to come up with something interesting and start another restaurant or go do and we want those restaurants to be populated and not with a bunch of people who've got masks on. I have a woman who works with me, a Muslim woman who came from Pakistan, And she said, I came to this country so I didn't have to wear that thing. And now I got to wear it again? What? Forget it.
It's really hard to eat if you have that mask on.
Yeah.
That's why I have a pizza one, you know.
Right. Yeah. At least it looks like you're eating.
Right. Kill two birds.
So,
with
so
one.
do you think we're going to get a universal basic income out of this? Is there going to be a USD Fed dollar, digital dollar sometime coming? I mean,
God, it's interesting.
The digital yuan is on its way.
I thought that was kind of a cool idea to have some sort of universal basic income. But the idea of making it all in dollars is suddenly creating a culture of need instead of a culture where everyone gets it and it's there for everyone, you, me, everybody, and it kind of rises with the economy. I mean, that would be the way. If you're going to do a universal basic income because you're concerned that AI is going to take all our jobs or whatever, you would start it maybe with crypto. Maybe you start with Bitcoin or some new crypto, and you give it to everyone for just existing, and maybe you give it to everyone on the planet for just existing, and then it starts to grow as the world economy grows, and people start realizing that, oh, you know, now we can take care of one meal a week, and then it starts to grow a little more, and now 2 or 3 meals a week. Now we can take care of our food. Then it slowly works up to clothing and shelter. That would be the way to do it. And then if you do a universal basic income, you get rid of the minimum wage, because what happens then is it opens up the entire world for work. I mean, that's what we really all want to do, right? We all want to work, and the money, you just want to live. But if people are not working, that's when you need the social worker, you need the unemployment, you need the welfare program, you need all these things, the psychological counseling, all that stuff. It all comes when people are not working. If they're working, everything's good. You know, it's sure they're going to have a few difficulties, but everything's good if you're working. Everybody feels like I'm on this earth for a reason. I'm working, I'm raising kids, I'm teaching kids, I'm helping startups, I'm building businesses, all those things. That is a good feeling. That's a feeling that everybody gets, and then they feel emotionally good, they, you know, all that. Well, if you're going to do a universal basic income, then you allow, because the minimum wage, what that does is it stretches so that somebody who's 20 years old can't reach the first rung of the ladder, because I'm not going to hire them to do this because you're not worth the minimum wage. But I want you to get a job, and I want you to be employed and get experience so that you're going to be worth much, much more down the road. And if you've got this minimum wage, then you kind of go, well, I can't hire you. I got to hit $15 an hour. You're not worth $15 an hour, but you might be. If I kept you on for 6 months, eventually you'd be worth a lot more, maybe. So
maybe they just keep printing money, and then they are worth $15 an hour because the dollar's not working.
Yeah, people have come to me and said, well, so at Bitcoin at $250,000, oh, does that mean Bitcoin's going up, or does that mean the dollar's just
the dollar's going down?
Maybe both. Well, let's go down the creepy factor rabbit hole for a moment, because we covered a story here a week or so ago on our news episode about Microsoft's patent for being able to put this chip that would turn your body into a miner. Did you hear about that?
Oh, that's wild. You mean you put it in your brain or something, and there's enough battery power?
It's injected into you. Let me see if I could actually find the story here on it specifically, so that we can take a look at it. Because
well, then you could mine that actually might work. You could
here it is.
You could actually earn the UBI.
Cryptocurrency system using body activity data. So there's sensors in you. You're the device, and communicates to a network, and by doing certain activities, you mine whatever the crypto is.
Oh, that's wild. There's if you put that together with the healthcare data, you could start. It could start measuring all these different things in you while you're mining Bitcoin or whatever currency, and then you could have it'd be kind of fun. And then it would keep perfect records so that then you put those records up into the cloud and it says, well, in addition to your medical records and your genetic history and your blood test results, we've got your Fitbit results. We know what you ate for breakfast. We know who you've shaken hands with.
Yikes.
We know, all of a sudden, that's really valuable information if you're sick.
Yeah.
It's
really interesting. I looked at this when I first saw it, and I put the two and two together. Microsoft, and you got Bill Gates over here at the WHO, and he's wanting these mandatory vaccines. It's almost like they said, wow, well, we could turn sort of humans into this computer approach where maybe you don't get your UBI unless you get the latest Microsoft WHO virus update, and you don't get your UBI, and we turn your money earning off.
Well, that would be a fair and free market. If you put this in, you get your UBI. If you don't put it in, you don't get your UBI. You better figure out how to make enough money to live. I'm okay with that marketplace.
I have to show you this. This is, I have been a vintage software collector for many years, and I even have some old magazines. Let me turn off my background here for a moment.
I should send you mine. I have some in a garage that's like a whole Lotus 1, 2, 3.
If you have any Microsoft Windows 1, I would love it.
I don't think I have that.
This is, remember Board Watch magazine? Very early, it was BBS magazine. This is from May 1996, and look at the cover.
Oh yeah, the Borg.
That is Bill Gates as the Borg.
Oh, look at him! He looks so young and cute.
Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated. This is 24 years ago, and he has become such a voice and proponent for how the world should live. I don't know why we're listening, why he's been given such a voice, but I find it a little creepy.
Yeah, you have to put something in your brain or something. That does get a little creepy. Turns out that technology is one thing, but there's another technology where you wear a hat, and inside the hat, it's reading your brain. But it reads your brain waves, and then with your brain waves, you can guide a mouse. It can figure out your emotions. It's pretty interesting, and it is coming.
That's really awesome. That's the magnetocephalograph, where you can actually it taps onto your brain, and so thoughts actually are things, and science has proved this, that every thought sends out these invisible signals that you could use to connect. Technology is so wild. Like, we are in the future. Tim,
you could translate. You could figure out how to translate direct from brainwave to human, English, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a translate. That'd be a big challenge. Once you could do that, you could communicate with the animals. You could, if the
Dr.
Martians
Doolittle.
come down, we can figure out how to communicate with them.
It would kill podcasts though, because you just have to tune into the thoughts instead of listening.
You're a big Bitcoin proponent, Tim. I wonder, and actually there was a question here. I'm in the Theta TV chat room. Shout out to all y'all watching on Theta. It's a blockchain-based solution. Them and D Live seem to be the two that are encouraging streamers to earn with cryptocurrency. And somebody here wanted to know, besides Bitcoin, what other cryptos are you a fan of?
Well, I can just tell you what I own and what I'm excited about. I'm excited about, I never recommend anything, because then they come back and say, you told me to go buy it. I'm not going to do that. So I love Tezos because it's the best system for a smart contract. And I think that smart contracts are going to be a very important thing in the future. The amount of money we spend for lawyers kind of working through the laws, and the laws are so complicated and the regulations are so complicated that we just have to use more and more. If you just build a smart contract into software, you don't need all that. You just say, here's the deal, whatever, we each split it 50-50. You get half, I get half. Or if it's a complicated thing like a song or a movie, everybody gets a little crypto wallet, and anytime anybody buys a ticket to the movie or buys online use of that movie, that money just goes and shoots into all the wallets. What are you showing me here?
Just pulling up the Tezos site for people that might be wondering what it is. I know I remember hearing about them a couple of years ago. I don't know what this is, but I see Baking Bad here. There's this logo of a Heisenberg with a chef's hat on. So shout out to those guys, whoever they are.
Yeah, Tezos is the number 10 overall in market cap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's come up. It's on a big rise. Another one I kind of like is Aragon. Because what they're doing is, in effect, they've figured out a crypto model to create a jury, just a jury, a judge and jury.
Really?
And it's interesting because then you can actually have a virtual judge and jury who determine, the outcome of some sort of dispute. And long term, that could turn into liquid democracy. It could turn into new forms of the judicial system. A lot of interesting things can happen there, so I'm excited about that. As a bridge, Maker, I think, is a good model. I think long term we all kind of go toward Bitcoin and the purist model, but as long as we got fiat around, we're going to probably want some of these stable coins too. So I think that's going to be interesting. I feel for the guys at Facebook. I mean, they came up with Libra. It was a brilliant model. Everything was great. And then they ran up against the wall of Senate. And I don't know if that'll ever happen. And if it does, will anybody use it?
I don't hear that too often. People feeling sorry for Facebook. That is not. I do. Were you an early investor? No,
God, I was so stupid. I was the guy who bid them up. I started at $20 million valuation, and some other bidder, turns out it was another venture capitalist, who I told about Facebook to.
Oh no!
So stupid. And we bid each other up, and I finally said too much. It started at 20, it got to 115 million. Now I realize 115 million was 1,000 times on the money, but can't win them all. It's been a good career anyway.
That's great. I want to ask one question, because some people talk about this about Bitcoin. Is that so? When a miner mines Bitcoin, then they got the Bitcoin, and then they immediately liquidate it. So like they don't have, a lot of times they liquidate it because they got to pay for the electricity and some of that stuff, right? And so the incentives seem weird. So now we have a scenario where there's just like a small group of people who can even afford all of that mining equipment, right? Little guys can't get into that. So now we have this Bitcoin that's this really cool decentralized thing that the people who can mine the Bitcoin now is highly centralized because it's so expensive to do. So, and then once they get the Bitcoin, they pull it out on the market because they got all these expenses that they got to pay to buy more equipment to keep mining Bitcoin. So it's like the incentivization of it is, it's like, if you make it, you earn it, then they sell it, and that drives the price down. And it's like, it's kind of this weird, economy.
I see that. And it's going to go in fits and starts, because the things that are going to affect it are, the halvening, because then you assume the price is going to go up, but the mining, they're going to have to mine twice as many Bitcoin to pay for it. And the other thing that might have some effect is every time Antminer or whoever comes up with a new chip that's faster than the ones before, you do have an opportunity to go in there and make some money for a while. And then, when you got quantum computing or whatever, there will be other major breakthroughs where there are big opportunities for the small miner. But I think that the bigger miners are going to have a lot more influence, but the idea that the big miners are going to, take it over or try to change it or whatever, doesn't make sense, doesn't make economic sense to them. So I don't suspect that there's going to be that thing that happens.
Well,
I think it's going to be more small. And I don't think, how big a market share does Bitmain have now?
That's a really good question.
Well, they are one of the biggest, unicorns. And last time I saw, they were worth $19 billion, but I don't know how much revenue that equates to.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's 30% market share. And people were worried that was going to get over 50, but there are too many new things that happen that make it very difficult to maintain too much market share in the mining world. So I think you're good, and mining, being a miner is a rough life. It was a rough life when it was gold in the hills of California, and it's a rough life here because it's going to come, Bitcoin runs to $20,000 a Bitcoin, and the miners are making a fortune. Then it drops back down to 10, and the miners are going, whoa, what happened? And then it goes up to 50, and the miners go, it's great, and then drops down to 20, and they go, ah. So I suspect that will continue to happen. So as a miner, put it away when you've got it, and keep mining when things are tough, because that's when there are fewer miners, and so less supply creates a higher price, and you'll get more money out of that.
Tim Draper, mining advisor. Well, so if you've got this prediction of 250,000 by end of 2022, right?
Yeah, or first quarter 2023.
First quarter. So that's 2 years from now.
Yeah.
What is the catalyst to see that type of
first quarter 2023.
2023.
Either sometime in 2022 or first quarter 2023.
Got it.
I gave myself an extra quarter.
A little wiggle room. So which is fine because it's a big number. What is the catalyst? It's been since 2017, beginning of 2018, when we saw the all-time high of 20. What's the catalyst that will send it parabolic again?
I think it's like open node, because all of a sudden the retailers say, oh, you mean I don't have to pay 2.5 to 4% to the banks every time somebody swipes a credit card? Why don't I accept Bitcoin? And then open node makes it so it goes off the blockchain, and then they do lots and lots of transactions, and they bring it back into the blockchain. So it kind of goes off chain, so they can do 15 million transactions.
You're actually talking, when you say open node, you're not talking about the technology, you're talking about the actual company?
There's a company, open node, works on the Lightning Network that pulls it off the blockchain, and then they can have lots and lots of transactions and then bring them back to the blockchain to get it accounted for maybe once a day or whatever.
Are you an investor?
Yeah.
Okay, I found it, opennode.com. Bitcoin for every day, OpenNode, the easiest way to accept Bitcoin. So Lightning Network here, charge less than a penny. Charge as little as 1 Satoshi to monetize any digital interaction. Well, that's certainly a key. Having that type of success is what we need to make it so that anybody can be banked and send money without paying these ridiculous transaction fees.
Yeah, absolutely. And once that starts happening, then people kind of go, well, wait. And then the retailer says, I'm going to give you a 2.5 to 4% discount on if you use Bitcoin. So then, I mean, that was exactly how MasterCard and Visa took market share away from American Express. They charged a little less. And people kind of go, oh, well, you know, you think that that doesn't make a big difference? It does. People start saying, and then they're going to realize how easy it is to move money around. And then we've got this frictionless environment, and they can move from country to country, and they still have their money. They control their money. They don't have to keep it in some bank that has a lot of people very well dressed like I am, coming out of big, huge buildings that are very fancy, that they're paying for. So they don't need that. And I think they're going to be very ready. And it'll just like, it'll creep in. I mean, things like this was a catalyst. There are a whole bunch of more people that have now, I keep track of these numbers. A whole bunch more people are now buying Bitcoin with wallets. So opening new wallets. So they're experimenting now. It takes a little time. The software has to be built. They have to build their own, the software has to be built for a full economy that is as robust as the one we have for dollars. And then it's over for the dollar. There's a point at which you just say, well, look, I can do everything here with Bitcoin. I don't have to spend that extra money. It's used anywhere in the world. It doesn't dilute when our country decides to print money. People will definitely get their heads around that.
I want to ask a question just real quickly around DeFi, right? Because that seems to be such a big thing that's popping up. And I know there's companies out there that's doing some interesting stuff. Kava, I saw, has been popping up that's doing some stuff, even around Bitcoin, where like some of that sort of smart contracts and stuff. There's some companies that are doing DeFi-nance loans on Ethereum. There's some that are doing stuff on Bitcoin. What are your thoughts on that? As that seems to be a new sort of mechanism for loaning money without giving up your crypto. And it seems like that could be a valuable thing as we enter this new crazy world we're in.
No question. As this whole financial world has to be built out around Bitcoin, you're going to see all sorts of decentralized financial packages. And so DeFi is the thing. And people are doing all sorts of really interesting businesses around DeFi. I'll tell you what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the ability to raise money in Bitcoin, invest it into companies in Bitcoin, have them pay their employees and suppliers in Bitcoin, so that all the accounting and all the legal work, all the way up through the food chain, is taken care of. The smart contract, the whole thing. So I think we're going to get to a place like that. In the meantime, there are all sorts of interesting decentralized financial companies that are doing everything from commodity trading to derivatives to all the things that you see in the fiat financial world.
You know, what you're saying, Tim,
reminds
me.
It's just a matter of time.
What you're saying reminds me of this Matrix meme, which I love. What you're trying to tell me is I can trade my Bitcoin for millions.
There you go.
Someday.
Yeah,
No,
when you're ready, you won't have to.
You won't have to.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. You know, the decentralization is a really powerful tool, and I think it does have a long-term impact on the world. I mean, we talked about governments kind of overreaching here with a virus. Part of that is that they want to stay tribal, but we all know that we're now global. And these decentralized companies, there's a company called Unstoppable Domains that I've also got an investment in, that is making it so that you can in effect have a .crypto after your name. You can be, Travis.crypto or Joel.crypto. And with that, you can put anything down there. So it's free speech for the world. That opens up a lot of interesting opportunities, and it puts governments on notice. It allows people to say, like, free Tibet when they're in China. It allows people to say something negative about the Syrian government or the Sudanese government. It allows that kind of discussion where government can't come and pull it away. And so it's unstoppable domain.
We're going to need more and more of that as we go along here, as you mentioned, with these governments sort of being. That's one thing that I've always sort of been concerned about, which is why I love crypto and the decentralized thing, is that if we don't, just the nature of leaders historically, they like to, if they can, they're going to be draconian. But now imagine draconian, authoritarian, plus a technocracy powered by AI. Like, it could get really crazy if we don't sort of stand up and say, hey, we need to do the right thing. We need to decentralize as much of this as possible. And we start with finance. And there's other areas. Now we're getting into the decentralizing of the web. And it's like, maybe we can save this thing.
That's the way I'm looking at the world. There are like three of these: George Washington, Deng Xiaoping, and Gorbachev. I don't know, maybe Lee Kuan Yew, but he was a little bit more authoritarian. They opened up and gave away their power in favor of the success of the country. We need that. We need people who are willing to give up their power for the success of their countries. And so we are looking for George Washington's, Deng Xiaoping's, Gorbachev's. We are looking for those people who are saying, I am going to push my own personal power away so that this world can thrive. And that is going to be a difficult sell for 99% of the politicians, but there will be a few, and I think they will lead us into this decentralized world.
That's optimistic. I hope you're right.
I'm hoping that there are a few that rise high enough. Boy, I mean, you look at all these debates and you think, what are they all? It's like they're having a big party on the Titanic.
Yeah, is this the best?
I tell you what, I hope someday we could maybe vote for presidential candidate Tim Draper, because I think your head's in the right place.
Oh boy, I would scare a lot of people. I don't know if I'm electable.
Well, you're welcome in our circle anytime, Tim. Thank you for your generosity, for going over a little bit here, answering questions. We really appreciate it.
Hey, I had fun.
What site would you?
My people.
Yeah, we're your tribe. What site would you like people to visit to learn more about you?
Well, there are a couple of them. Draper, you can go to just draper.vc. That's my venture business. You can go to draperuniversity.com. That's the school where we create heroes. And we had to shut it down in the spring. I'm hoping that these guys let us operate in the summer. We have, and then Meet the Drapers, which is a new TV show. And we now have 6 million people watching, most of them from India.
Where is this being broadcast?
Now you can go to draper.tv and see it, but you can see it on YouTube. But what it is I interview entrepreneurs with my dad and my sister, my kids, or whoever. And
it's awesome.
And we interview them, and it's better than that because you can go online and push a button and invest $100 or $1,000 through a crowdfunding campaign.
Oh, how fun.
In the company. So it's fun. It's a kick, and it's rising. It's like a hit. So we'll keep it going.
He's a star of stage and screen. Tim Draper, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
That was really fun. And you guys keep at it, boy. We need more like you.
Tell us to stay bad.
Stay bad.
Yes.
Stay bad.
That's what we do.
Bad. Stay bad.
Fantastic. Oh, that's great.
All right.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks,
Take care,
guys.
friend.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was an honor.
Timmy. Thank you, Tim. He's a great guy. I'd like to just hang out with Tim and have a drink, off the record.
Come on.
You know what? He was really nice and very just a cool guy. You're right. I mean, he just answered the questions. He was, he was laughing, having a great time, and he stayed over. He stayed like an extra 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. He's always got a smile on his face anytime you see him, and he's got,
Well, he bought Bitcoin really cheap.
right. that would do it, wouldn't it? Well, you might have missed getting in on Bitcoin really cheap, and we're not financial advisors and don't know where this is, going, but Moby Pay is one of our sponsors, and they've created a pretty cool ecosystem to allow cashback programs on purchases using Moby Coin, an integrated reward and payment token that connects all fiat and major cryptocurrencies. And Travis, I don't have the news handy here, but I saw a tweet yesterday. Moby Pay has partnered with Verge, the crypto.
Wow.
Not the publication. Yeah, I'm not
That's
exactly
great.
sure what the deal is, but they are definitely making moves into the space and building partnerships. Go check them out at mobypay.io. It's MOBIE pay.io. Claim your $10 in free MBX tokens for beta testing their new ecosystem.
Wow. You know what? That to me is so fascinating. I know they got a deal with they got some partnership with Wax. Now they got a partnership with Verge. They're doing some interesting things. I think that be nice to see them get rolling.
They're on the verge of getting waxy.
Very
Something like
nice.
that. Yeah. So there's I've been getting press releases, several of them from the people behind this documentary that's premiering on the 4th of July holiday on Discovery Science Channel. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. It's called Open Source Money, and it's a documentary series about the rise of the blockchain company Dragon Chain. Remember, we had Joe Roats, the president of Dragon Chain, on this once upon a time.
Well, I tell you, this is really sad news for me because I was a really big fan of them, and at one time, my holdings of Dragon Chain was in the multiple hundreds of thousands, and then I sold it. It got over $5, and then I think I finally sold the rest of it when it was around 5 cents. So that's how good I am. That's why we are not financial advisors, folks.
Well, they are offering a grand prize, part of a digital treasure hunt for those who watch it. I guess they're going to be revealing clues. And if you want to see more about this, we'll leave this in the show notes on the website at badco.in/422.
I love this. The grand prize is 500,000 dragon tokens.
Yeah.
Dragon Chain, which is currently valued at more than $50,000, which at the time, once upon a time, when it was at $5.05, that's $2.5 million is what it would have been in January 2018. That tells you how far the dragon has fallen.
Yeah, well, and I think the series is going to talk about some of the reasons why, because they were one of the targets of the SEC.
Yeah.
And it kind of brought them down. But this is a 5-part series, and it highlights the company's story. They're not a sponsor of the show. I just found this fascinating. People like Patrick Byrne, Brock Pierce, and Joe Roats are going to be in it, as well as people from Disney and Facebook. So I think it's going to be really fascinating. I just love to see.
It is.
It's
such a great story, man. It was built within Disney. On the board, they had the vice president of payments from Starbucks. They're sitting right there in this close proximity to Bittrex in Seattle. They had all this stuff going. They just looked like it was just the perfect storm. And then the Titanic hit.
Yeah. Yes,
the iceberg.
The Titanic.
Yeah. Yeah. If I could turn back time, I'd go to January 2018 and I'd sell all my worthless shit coins and I'd be happy as Tim Draper.
All right, Cher.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, as this show tapers off, after Taper with Draper.
The perfect taper with Draper.
Thanks for listening to the show and sticking with us. We don't know who all of you are, but we appreciate you. And if you could just imagine, I'm going to say thank you and fill in the blank with your name right here.
Mhm.
So thank you
For nominating us on Binance.
for listening to the show. We appreciate you. Stay tuned for our bad news episode coming up on Friday. And until then, stay bad.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.
I take back all the words that have hurt you, and you stay. If I could turn back time. Ooh. Man, I need to get one of those Cher outfits she wore during that video.
Oh gosh, please no. Oh, that would be horrendous. Go taper one.